Well, let me start by apologizing. There's a lot of activity outside my shop. I've got well drillers here today drilling a new well, and sounds like they're hitting some rock. And instead of waiting, I just thought I'd do a quick video. I've got my Spetool Xpert slab flattening jig all set up. I've got my router installed. I've got my dust collection up here with the mag fit, actually generic mag fit hooked up to my dust collector, and pretty happy with how the rails came together. Seems very solid. As I mentioned in the little short I did recently on this slab flattening jig, when I first tried to install onto the rails, I had one side that was locked and one side that wasn't, and I couldn't figure out why it was lopsided. So don't be an idiot like me. Make sure both of those are unlocked when you put it on the rails. But it's a very solid unit. I've tried to maximize X and Y here for this workstation I set up. For those of you who might be interested in setting up this kind of workstation, really easy set of plans on Anna White's website for a large 4x8, I guess she calls it a bench. It's a workstation for me. I modified it a little bit so that I'm going to make it my permanent slab flattening workstation. Eventually I want to get the extension rails, but they're sold out right now. So I've got some rails from a generic slab flattening jig I was using. I might see if those line up and will work in this. So I want to test this out. I'll get this piece of white oak. I just want to see how this works before I do anything that's really part of a project. I've been working on cleaning up white oak burl slabs that I picked up over a year ago. I'm hoping to do something with. I think I finally have a plan together, but they have to be flattened a little bit. They were pretty flat from the supplier. Bought it from a small mill in northeastern Iowa, but it's been in my shop for a year or so it's moved a little bit. So let me get this strapped down and test this out and let you know what my initial thoughts are. I'm really going to be curious to see how well the dust collection works. I've yet to see good dust collection. I thought at some point I could try to put the dust shroud on the router itself, although I've never really had good luck with those when doing large cleanups like flattening, but it might be worth a shot to do it in addition to the built-in jig Spetool's dust collection solution. The only thing with this setup that I don't like, that once I get a little bit more permanent setup here, I'll have to figure out, is my ancillary hose here hangs over the side and catches a little bit on the edge. So I'm going to have to come up with another solution for that. Really not a big deal. It's more about just how my shop's set up right now, which is as a complete mess. Well, I've done my first few passes on this piece of white oak. Pretty happy with the results. Two big lessons though. I originally started with kind of a knockoff surfacing bit with the carbide cutters. That I'm not sure they're really carbide because it did a really piss poor job, and wasn't happy with the way it was making really large tear out bits, and those were getting caught up in the clearing brushes on the side and causing the sled to move a little bit on the Z-axis. So I switched to my other surfacing bit, which is a much smaller, but it's a Freud, and it worked fine. It did a really good job with a few shallow passes. Some of this might be a function of I'm using the Bosch 1617. I know some people want more horsepower when they're doing something like this. But I think that for the most part, I'm happy with these results. The second lesson is I've got to get better at securing the dogs, bench dogs, because I ended up having to use a couple pieces of scrap wood to fully secure it. I think that's just a user error on my part. Okay, what do I think of the dust collection? Well, you know, again, it's not optimal the way I have it set up. It's just going from I think they're 1.5 inch to a 2.5 inch coupler to my 4-inch hose that's into my piping to my 2 horsepower Harbor Freight Frankenstein dust collector. And it's okay, but especially with that larger bit that I started with, it still made quite a mess. But better than the mess that my previous slab flattening jig made, which really had no dust collection. I was just trying to use the dust collection shroud on the router and failed miserably. So I think some of this will be improved with the dust collection once I get this workstation in a more permanent location and more directly pipe to one of my dust collectors. And I could see trying to, again, use just the shroud on the router too, maybe to a second, to a shop vac or something, just for a little bit additional. But in terms of fine dust, it was quite good. I wore a mask. I probably didn't need to. But you are going to get these chips, especially with this type of wood. This is a really dry, select white oak. But I'm pretty happy with the results. And I'm just glad I practiced before going to my slab burls that I want to really put through the ringer first. So I'm going to have to wait and invest in a better surfacing bit, and then probably do another practice round, and then experiment on my slabs to get them fully flattened in. I also want to double check to make sure that since I built this a couple weeks ago, that my workstation is still flat in both directions. It is just an MDF top with some 2x4 supports going across, so I may need to shim or do something to make sure that I'm within spec there. But in terms of the Xpert Spetool Xpert router slab flattening jig, I'm really pleased. This was worth the investment. I did get a deal on it during Black Friday. As I mentioned in the short I made up of unboxing, my initial impressions were that it was very solidly built. And my first use of it, well, just practicing and needing to get a better surfacing bit, this is going to be a nice step up from the cheap Amazon knockoff sled I was using. The Z-axis works quite well. That's one thing that I read about with the Woodpecker's slab flattening jig, that you really are only relying upon your router for moving up and down. And I did buy the hand crank system for this jig, and I'm looking to install that next, probably not until I get some more use out of it. And if I run into any problems, of course, I will post an update. But I would not hesitate, especially if you can get it on sale, to go with the Spetool slab flattening jig, and see if it works out for you. Last time I looked, it was sold out on their website. I think it's been pretty popular. I feel like I got a deal on it. I don't remember exactly what I paid, but I'm really pleased with it. The other slab flattening jig I had, I would use once in a while, but it was so fussy to set up. And even though the rails were solid, it didn't have the Z-axis, it just was kind of not so great, which is part of the reason I didn't use it as much as I probably would have. So I'm looking forward to getting some use out of the Spetool Xpert slab flattening jig. Definitely worth the investment, at least in terms of my initial foray into using it. All right, take care, and sorry about the background noise.